Witches, ocean ships, making waves through literature, settlers, pirates, and trading. Today we're talking about our favorite things to do in Salem.
It's Halloween time.
It's Halloween time, my favorite time. All I want for Christmas is Halloween. Haha, that's my shirt. Let's start off things with a trolley ride around town. This is something I love to do, especially around this time of year. Kind of gets me familiar with all my surroundings in Salem. This is a 1-hour narrated tour.
Trolley tours are great too because it gives you a little reference about the city that you're in, especially if you're new and you're out of town and you've never been to Salem before. A trolley ride around before you go to sightsee can be a reference point. Okay, that's where that is. That's where that is.
Yeah.
That's where the Witch Museum is. That's where the Witch Dungeon is. And then, all right, where do we want to start our tour? We know a little bit about the city.
And I just love that it gives you a time to get off your feet. The trolley is itself really adorable and cute and really aesthetic. I love taking pictures in front of it. I recently did a tour with my aunt. She came up from the south, and we did a whole tour with the trolley and all, and it was just such a fun time. They actually do 14 stops.
Wow.
So they do quite a bit. My favorite part of this hearing about the history of Salem is kind of going through the past and learning about all the ships that used to come in and make port and where they actually now have filled with land to make space for the city. But it's just really so much fun history. And you can stop when you want to. If you want to get off, you can. So it's a really good way to get around all around Salem.
And the tour guides give you a little bit more detail about the properties or the sites that you're seeing, because every sightseeing opportunity around the city has plaques outside. It gives you a little bit of description of why this property or site is important.
Agreed.
But the guide can go a little bit more in depth with you and say, hey, this is the story, or maybe a hidden gem about this property. Like the hotel we're going to mention in a few minutes has a little hidden gem. They can give you that insight that you wouldn't see on the plaque outside.
Right, and you could do certainly a self-guided tour in Salem. That's definitely a thing, but this tour, it's just fun.
They have a self-guided tour where it's like you follow the yellow line around Salem.
Yeah, basically.
And it brings it's a walking tour, and you kind of just follow that line, and it leads you all in the right direction to see if you want to go by yourself.
Okay, number 2, the House of 7 Gables.
Now, this is a historic property in Salem, and it's well known, especially if you're a school kid in Massachusetts. You've probably taken a field trip to the House of 7 Gables, which was built in 1668 by ship owners John Turner.
Built a long time ago.
Way long time ago, and Elizabeth Turner, it was on the Salem Harbor. And the reason that this house is well known is Nathaniel Hawthorne, who was a prominent figure in Salem, in 1951 wrote a novel called The Scarlet Letter, which is the house in which this is based off of. So this is the setting for that novel, and that's why people kind of know of this historic house, the House of 7 Gables, which has 7 gables, and it's a really nice property on the water that you can go into and take a tour of, inside and outside.
Maybe they don't know about it.
They probably heard about it.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I do love this particular piece of history. I love going through. We did take a field trip, at least I did, when I was a kid. I had really strong memories of seeing the house when I was a child, and as an adult, I appreciated it again. So it can speak to all ages.
And it's it's fun to walk through because it's maintained like it was back in the day. So you get to see the old style furniture, the small doorways and walkways that if you're a bigger person, you have to like duck in and think to yourself, wow, how did people fit through these hallways and in this bed and in these rooms that are so small? And it's immaculately maintained. It's got a great location, and it's just fun. Maybe you get to see maybe a ghost or two if you are walking through there. You know, there are some stories.
There are stories. So me in particular, I have a story I could share another time, but I love this house, and it definitely sparked my inspiration of all things that I love in Salem, ghosts, and all that.
Yeah, so it's a great place to go visit, kid-friendly, and you'll have a great time. It's like an hour tour, but it's very entertaining. Again, a guided tour, and if the guide is on, it's a very entertaining tour.
And you can do both interior and exterior tours. So you can just tour the property grounds. Although it is fun to at least see the house once in a lifetime, the grounds are equally beautiful.
Yeah.
And it overlooks the harbor. So
here's a little tip for you.
Okay.
If you go into the parking lot of the House of 7 Gables, there's a side street that you can walk down. If you walk down that side street, you can look at the back of the house and the harbor without having to go in the property if you don't want to.
All right, next up, my favorite. I don't know, Bruce might take a timeout on this one, but my favorite things to do in Salem is, of course, shop.
Yeah, that's probably not on my list of favorite things to do.
You kind of take one for the team, and you do come along with me, and I just have a lot of fun because there are some stores that stand out more than others in Salem, and there are stores that I definitely go to even during off season, but they are particularly cool during the month of spooky season.
I think there are two different kinds of stores in Salem. There are stores that are very well versed in the history of Salem and try to maintain that, and then there are stores that just try to sell tourist Salem stuff.
Right, which is fine.
Yeah,
you
no
get
problem
that
with
everywhere.
either one, but you got to be careful. Not be careful, but you got to look at which ones you want to go in.
All right, so let me list the few that I love, and let's see. Hopefully, you guys at home agree, or you haven't gone. Maybe you can check it out next time. So, number one, Pyramid Books. I like to call it Pyramid Bookstore. They, of course, have an assortment of books that you can purchase, but the overall feeling of this particular store, it's large, which I like, but it definitely has all these different stones and gems and things that you can purchase that really help your well-being, and that's what I love most about this store. There's candles and all these really cool, neat things that you can find, probably unlike anywhere else.
The thing about Salem is it's very spiritual.
It is.
And that's what they try to get across. It's not, people think of it as being haunted and witches, but in the essence of Salem, in these shops that are native to Salem, is like being spiritual and one with the earth.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's like, but that's what they say.
Yeah, you can appreciate it then.
I can.
Okay, next one. Bruce never comes in here with me. Unfortunately, it is a little small, but it's Modern Millie, and this is one of my favorite clothing stores. It's true to what the description of the name is. It's a modern twist to sort of vintage clothing. It's newer clothes, but they have a really unique way of representing them, and they just have such a cool assortment of all different types of clothing. You can do purses, shoes, dresses, shirts. Lots of fun in that store. Next one, Emporium 32.
Which I actually don't mind.
Well, only because I force you in there during Christmas and make you buy me things.
It's true. But this is the only one of these stores that I find have something for men and women.
Yeah, exactly.
Like in the back of the store, they have a whole section of hats if you want scally caps or those old-fashioned hats that they used to wear in the 1800s. And they have a whole case of ties that have Halloween or Salem themes, but also just nice-looking ties that you could buy if you wanted to.
They have really neat headpieces for women, headbands, really cool vintage spin on everything. Again, everything is new, but it has that classic look that comes from like a 1950s storybook, which I love. Really unique maps and a lot of really incredible jewelry that I have not found anywhere else. So it's one of my go-to spots. The kids know, Bruce knows. It's always on my holiday wish list. Just go into Emporium and buy me anything.
Yeah, right? We do that quite often.
Last one on my list for now, because there's a lot that I love, but we only have a certain amount of time. Enchanted, which is actually, it's called Enchanted, an authentic witch shop because it's home of Laurie Cabot, who is actually the official witch of Salem.
And she's been the official witch of Salem for quite a long time.
Yes, and so this store is owned along with her daughter Penny Cabot, and it is one of the largest stores of handcrafted kind of magical items, books, all these different things. You can buy bath bombs, which are really unique.
Yeah.
Some are really cool. I saw a cauldron bath bomb the other day, and I thought that is super cool.
They had witches brew coffee in there. They had all kinds of stuff. It's just these are cool stores that you don't see other places in the same proximity that you do in Salem.
Agreed.
You know, it's good to like be able to walk around and be like, hey, let me go check out this store and just see other things.
Right.
All right, now let's move on to my favorite, food. Because if you're doing all this shopping or watching these people do shopping, you got to stop and get something to eat. And you got to have some great places to eat.
Right.
So obviously, if you're going to go out for breakfast, obviously I like pizza, and we're going to name 2 pizza places that I think you should check out in a minute. But breakfast is Connie's favorite food. So if you want breakfast or a light lunch, you have to go to Red's Sandwich Shop. It's a classic, old-looking building in downtown Salem. It's been around for a long time. It's probably one of the most popular breakfast places there is in Salem.
It's not just old-looking. It actually is a historic building. It's located in the historic London Coffee House building. It was built in 1698, and you get that right from the exterior all the way through the interior. It's comfortable. It's cozy, and they make an amazing omelet, home fries, my favorite.
And if you've watched the movie Hocus Pocus, I think it is, where they do a dance party, you said, at the town hall.
Yeah.
It's right across the street from that, where that that film was located in that dance scene.
Not too far away. Which
Everything
is really
in
cool.
Salem is pretty centrally located. You can walk to all of these things. Everything that we mentioned here on this video, you could probably walk to within 5 or 10 minutes of each other.
Give or take. There are some things that are a little further than others, but that's what the trolley comes in for, right?
Yeah.
So you could do that. You could definitely Uber, but definitely it's within, most things are within walking distance.
All right, so you've had a great breakfast. Now you want to move on to lunch or early dinner, and you want to get a pizza. 2 pizza places I think you should check out. Number 1, Flying Saucer Pizza. If you're into a more nerdy Star Trek, Star Wars theming kind of vibe, Flying Saucer Pizza is definitely your style. It's got that, every pizza has a pop culture nerd factor to it, and they are proud of the fact that it has a nerdy aspect to it. They literally talk about that on their website.
I love it. It definitely is delicious pizza, which I love, but I love also the atmosphere for sure.
Yeah, and if you want to a more traditional restaurant where you want to sit down and get a Neapolitan-style pizza, Bombolina is going to be the place where you want to check that out. They have great pizza, and they also have another place inside of there where you can get noodles. They used to have a different restaurant, but they combined them, so you can get pizza or noodles, whichever one you want.
My last one I want to throw in there, if you want a little bit of an upscale kind of dining experience, head over to Opus in Salem, which has a very unique menu, but yet I feel that I think even if you have picky eaters, you probably will find something that you'd like, although they definitely have some unique items. Great place for, I think, appetizers, dinners. I mean, if you want to do more of an upscale lunch, you could definitely hit here. They have burgers and things and sushi. So I really love it here.
There you go.
All right. Unique atmosphere. Next one, you have to have high tea. There is a amazing.
You do?
Yes, you do. This is new-ish. I mean, it's been around for quite a bit, but not necessarily as long as some of the other things that we have mentioned today. This is Jolie Tea Company, and this is a really unique, beautiful place in Salem that has the opportunity that you could do high tea. They even have one for children. It's about $32 per person, and they have all these little offerings along with your pot of tea that you can enjoy. Really magical. I feel like you're stepping into Alice in Wonderland when you're here, so it's just one of my favorite places.
This may be a little too fancy for me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to take your word for it.
Okay.
And last but not least, if you're staying in Salem, I mean, there's so many stories of things being haunted. You have to stay at one of these quote-unquote haunted hotels.
You definitely do. I do think it can be a little tricky to get some good rest when you're sleeping at some of these. We've had the experience of some restless evenings in haunted places. So I do think maybe one night, maybe 2 max. Also, they can be pricey.
You know what I think you should do is you should have one of your nights at a hotel, one of these ones that we're going to mention.
Yes.
Just be one of an experience night. Maybe you don't plan on sleeping that night. You just kind of hang out in your room. You get the Ouija board out, and you're like, you know what? We're just going to make this an experience all in of itself, and we're not here to sleep. We're here to kind of see if we can see something.
First of all, you're all talk because there's no way you'd be pulling out the Ouija
I didn't
board.
say I was going to do any of that. I just said that's what you should do.
Gotcha. All right. That's fair. All right. First one on the list, let's talk about the infamous Merchant Inn. And according to locals, if you ask around where is the most haunted place in Salem, they're going to direct you here.
I wonder if there's one specific room. You know how these hotels that are haunted sometimes have a specific room that is the most haunted? Mm-hmm. I wonder if you could ask for that if you stay at the Merchant Inn.
Which we've had the luxury of doing in other places, so maybe here as well. But this one is really unique. Not only is the building really beautiful and visually very Instagrammable, but it has some rich history. It was owned by a sea merchant, Joshua Ward, who basically built a fortune importing molasses for rum. So that's cool.
Wow.
But it's more about the history of where the land on which Joshua chose to build his house, because it's where Sheriff George Corwin lived and maintained his jail until the 1680s. It was Corwin's self-appointed duty to interrogate anyone suspected of witchcraft.
Well, that's what Salem's known for. And it is according to the website of the Merchant, this is the hotel that George Washington specifically asked to stay for when he visited Salem.
Yes.
Which is actually a really rich piece of history.
It really is. But the legend has it that perhaps the spirit of a few innocent victims of Sheriff Corwin still roam the halls.
So that's who's haunting it.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to have to go check that out.
Okay.
We'll have to do one of those ghost hunter episodes.
Yes, definitely. All right, and then the next hotel, I'm sure this one is maybe more familiar with folks, but this is the Hawthorne Hotel, which was built in 1925. A little bit different than the Merchant because it's a bigger hotel.
This is a more glamorous hotel. It's right in the downtown area of Salem, overlooking the park and the Witch Museum. It's got a great location. It's a little bit more of a hotel where people would have a wedding or a birthday party or something like that in the hotel itself.
Definitely has an event and a meeting space, but it is a very beautiful hotel. There's a lot of rich history on this hotel as well, and it overlooks one of my favorite areas, which is the Salem Common. It's a beautiful place just to take an evening stroll if you are able to. Very, very beautiful.
If you are staying at the Hawthorne Hotel, it's got a great central location, and you can get to pretty much everything within walking distance.
That's a great point. All right, that's going to do it.
Yeah, so if you are going to go to Salem, check out some of these things and let us know if you do check them out. Leave a comment in the comments below. Maybe you've been to Salem and you say, hey, you know what? You didn't mention this, but I checked out this little local bakery or coffee shop or this tour that I went on, and it was fantastic. Help people out who watch this video. Give them some tips about visiting Salem or maybe a spooky location near you.
We're definitely going to do more of these because there's a lot to talk about, a lot to share, things that we love. So stay tuned for more.
Yeah, part 2 is coming up pretty soon because there's so many things to do in Salem. We couldn't fit it all into one video. So hit that subscribe button, hit the like, leave a comment, and we'll see you next time.